Excellencies, esteemed guests, dear rectors, vice rectors, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to start the kickoff meeting of the Erasmus Plus project entitled Open Practices, Transparency and Integrity for Modern Academia, abbreviated OPTIMA, and welcome all participants. My name is Oleksandr Berezko. I am an OPTIMA project manager. Due to the pandemic situation, the kickoff meeting will be held totally online, but I hope it will not impact the event quality and expected outputs. It is a great pleasure for me to take an active part in the project, bringing together educators, scientists, various professionals, and of course, early career researchers, doctoral candidates, and students from the whole Europe, but first of all, from Austria, Belgium, France, Netherlands, Poland, and Ukraine. OPTIMA is a 3-year capacity building project which is carried out with the support of the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. Its main goal is introducing contemporary open science practices to Ukraine to boost transparency and integrity in order to improve higher education quality. Focus on academic integrity, climate change mitigation, displaced universities, and internationalization are among the main project priorities. Let me inform you that the whole event is being recorded and will be available in open access on the project website, as well as on the social media, together with all the presentations. And now, I have a pleasure to invite our first speaker, Professor Yuriy Bobalo, Rector of Lviv Polytechnic National University. Welcome.
Доброго дня, шановні пані і панове. Для мене велика честь вітати вас усіх на відкритті проєкту OPTIMA, координатором якого є Львівська політехніка.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Наш університет має славну історію і багаті традиції. І цей фундамент допомагає нам впевнено дивитися в майбутнє та бути лідером у впровадженні інновацій. Ми послідовно рухаємося шляхом інтеграції у європейський освітній та науковий простір і відкриті до нових тенденцій у вищій школі.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to welcome all of you to the opening of the project, which is coordinated by Lviv Polytechnic. Our university has a noble history and rich traditions. These foundations help us to look into the future with confidence, being a leader in implementation of innovations. We are consistently moving towards integration into the European higher education and research areas and are open to new trends in academia.
Пишаюся тим, що в 2018 році Львівська політехніка вперше в Україні стала координатором наукового проєкту, підтриманого програмою «Горизонт 2020». Сьогодні проєкт EACEA знаходиться в активній фазі, а його команда ділиться цінним досвідом не лише зі своїми університетськими колегами, а й з усією Україною.
I am proud that in 2018, for the first time in Ukraine, Lviv Polytechnic became a coordinator of a research project supported by Horizon 2020 program. Today, the ongoing image projects team shares valuable best practices not only with university colleagues, but with the whole Ukraine.
Попри це, Львівська політехніка вперше координує такий масштабний міжнародний освітній проєкт, як OPTIMA. І я хочу подякувати усім нашим партнерам за довіру, яка нас дуже надихає. Зокрема, хочу подякувати та привітати своїх колег, присутніх нині тут.
Despite this, Lviv Polytechnic is for the first time coordinating such a large-scale international educational project as OPTIMA. And I want to thank all our partners for the trust, which inspires us very much. In particular, I would like to thank and congratulate my colleagues present here today.
Професора Гарольда Кайнца, ректора Технічного університету Граца.
Großen Dank an Herr Professor Harald Kainz, Rector der Technische Universität Graz.
Професора Женіка Бріствольтера, президента університету Кот-Д'Ав.
Professeur Jean-Claude Brice-Voltaire, le président de l'Université de la Côte d'Azur. Nous vous remercions.
Професора Аркадіуша Войса, нового ректора Вроцлавської політехніки.
Dziękujemy profesorowi Arkadiuszowi Wojsowi, nowemu rektorowi Politechniki Wrocławskiej.
Професора Василя Карпушу, ректора Сумського державного університету.
We thank Professor Vasil Karpusha, rector of Sumy State University.
Професора Романа Гринюка, ректора Донецького національного університету імені Василя Стуса.
We thank Professor Roman Hernyuk, rector of Vasil Stus Donetsk National University.
Професорку Ірину Вахович, новообрану ректорку Луцького національного технічного університету.
We thank Professor Irina Vachovich, the newly elected rector of Lutsk National Technical University.
А також шановних професорів, професора Сергія Квіта, голову Національного агентства із забезпечення якості вищої освіти, пана Євгена Дикого, директора Національного антарктичного наукового центру, пані Риму Куприте, директорку Міжнародної асоціації АЙФ, та пані Джуліо Малагу-Арнетору, президентку Європейської ради директорів, докторантів та молодих вчених.
I want to thank dear Professor Serhiy Kvit, head of the National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance, Mr. Evgen Dickey, director of the National Antarctic Scientific Center, Ms. Rima Kurpite, director of IFL, and Ms. Julia Malagu-Arnera, president of European Council of Doctoral Candidates and Junior Researchers.
Насамперед хочу побажати усім партнерам вдалого проекту, а українській вищій школі більшої відкритості та доброчесності. Сподіваюся, що наступна наша зустріч відбудеться вже у стінах Львівської політехніки.
Finally, I would like to wish all the partners to implement a successful project and Ukrainian academia to become more open and transparent. I hope that the next OPTIMA project meeting will take place offline under the roof of Lviv Polytechnic National University. Thank you, Rector Bobalo. I will now invite the next speaker, who does not need to be introduced to most of you. The current professor of open science policy at the Free University of Brussels and former head of unit for open science policy at the European Commission, who was also one of the trainers of Eurodoc Open Science Ambassador program created by Gareth O'Neill and Ivo Grigorov 2 years ago. The program helped to shape the OPTIMA consortium and actually inspired the whole project. Jean-Claude Burgelman, the stage is yours.
Okay, so thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation. And of course, this is a spin-off of the Eurodoc project, and I'm very glad that it still has some effect, so that you invited me for being able to address you a few minutes on open science policy. As you said, I was responsible for open science policy at the European Commission until last year. I did it for 6-7 years, and it was a great pleasure to do it. And I'm very glad to see that your country, and in particular the research community of your country, is taking on board the key issues and the key points in open science that we have been developing for the rest of Europe and actually for the rest of the world. So what I would like to say you today is that very shortly that open science is becoming, or is now, a global policy. It is no longer some marginal policy that existed 10 years ago. And in that respect, it is very good that you have a day like that today. So let me quickly show you a few slides I prepared to make the arguments. So I can send them you afterwards if you want, if you would like to see them.
Of course.
So there you go. Do you see them?
Yes.
Okay, now I do it in presenter mode. Voila. So in the European Commission and in Europe with the member states, so we worked for 10 years on open science policies. So it started with a very modest approach on open access in 2010, actually a bit earlier. And a lot of work to convince the policymakers and the member states to develop a coherent policy. And a coherent policy is what we proposed in 2016. Why is it coherent? Because open science is a system change. It's not only open access, it's not only open data, it's not only open peer review, it's not only the cloud, it's everything together. Open science is what actually electronic commerce is for economics. Well, open science is for science. It changes the way science is done, and it changes the way the actors around science, universities, funders, researchers work, behave, and are impacted. So that coherent policy we launched in 2016 in the Commission with all the member states on board, because as you know, you don't launch anything in Europe when there is no consensus. And we mainly concentrated on open access for publications, open data for publicly funded research, the launch, the European Open Science Cloud as a federated system to host the publicly funded research data, which have to be available in a fair format, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. We concentrated, so these are already 4 priorities. Then there were priorities on new indicators, research and training, the skills, citizen science, and so forth. You can find all that in the articles that we wrote about at the website of the European Commission. In my view, a very important step has been taken in 2018, because several of these priorities became mandatory in the next, and one of them is the launch of the European Open Science Cloud in 2018, and the creation of the independent association to manage EOSC in 2020. So I would really encourage Ukraine and your research community to look at EOSC, to try to be on board in one way or another, and to make sure that you are one of the partners of EOSC, because in a certain sense, the European Open Science Cloud is the best guarantee that every researcher in Europe and the associated countries has to be able to do science at the best possible conditions as anyone else. If you can access the European Science Cloud, it will be as beneficiary for you as if you are a member of an elite university in the rest of Europe. So that was a very important step. And then in the new framework program, so Horizon Europe, it's a huge, as you know, a huge framework program. And in that framework program, if you want to be part of it, you need to respect open access for publications. You need to go for open data. You need to provide a fair data management plan and so forth. So in 10 years' time, we moved from a very marginal discussion to a fully fledged policy supported by most member states. For example, many member states have national coordinators of open science, and these national coordinators of open science are federated into a European consortium or a European Council of Open Science coordinators. So there again, I would encourage Ukraine to consider to create such a council, to mandate someone and to try to be on board of the European Council. A lot of the funders in the world and in Europe are asking for open science criteria or parameters like open access, like open data. You have Plan S on publishing on publishing your articles in an open access format without restrictions, without embargoes, and so forth. And interesting enough is that increasingly the industry is also adopting some of the elements of open science, and I will come back to that in a second. In particular, the specifications for open data, that they should be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And you can read the article that I quote there. It's a really interesting piece of work. Now, all that is, of course, very nice to see, but the reason is what is much more important is to see why it is so, and that is very important never to forget. Open science is not important because open is semantically a much nicer concept than closed. Open science is important because it results in better science. You can do more because the data are reusable, because you can find easily what is going on. I checked yesterday ResearchGate. ResearchGate has in the meantime 19 million members, and actually ResearchGate works like a Facebook community for researchers that didn't exist 10 years ago, but there you can really easily find who is doing what, the latest state of the art on something. So it leads to better science, and it has a much bigger return of investment of all the money which we put into research and innovation. It's very logical. If the X billions yearly in Europe, so 27, 28, we invest around 120 billion per year in publicly funded research. Now, all the results of it, all the data are somewhere. Now, if all that is being made available to reuse for someone else to do some new research, to create some new spin-offs, well, then you have a much better return on investment. It's also much better for researchers. If you publish in open access, your article, you're much more read, 2 to 3 times more than if you publish in closed or behind a paywall. And if you publish articles with the reference to your open data sets, recent studies have shown that the likelihood of your article being picked up is 3 to 4 times higher. So also as a researcher, you have a much bigger return of investment. And it is that what is important about open science, not the connotation open, but the fact that you have better science and a better return of investment as a funder and as a researcher. In the meantime, I must say that the world is moving fast. So it is not so that open science is a hobby of Europe and is a hobby of the people in this meeting. Thousands of people are working on it. You have associations like the Research Data Alliance, Code Data, and so forth, trying to come up with standards with semantic interoperability, ontologies, and so forth and so forth. And there are plans to create a global open science cloud. So this year we will look in how can we bring the Chinese, the Australians, the Canadian open science clouds, which do exist de facto, together to create a global approach. The United Nations is looking into it because it will be hosted, that meeting most likely after the summer in UN. UNESCO is doing a big consultation, which is very similar to what we did in Europe, by the way, 5 years ago, but it doesn't matter. There is an African open science cloud, there is an African open science platform, and so forth. So very important things are moving there. This is unstoppable. This is the way forward. And most likely in 5 years' time, we will look back at 2015, 2016, 2017 as how was it possible? We doubted it. And I would like to conclude. So it's an encouragement of all of you present today to not give up and push for it and continue doing it. And I'm very happy to learn that the Polytechnic, as said by the Vice Chancellor, wants to take a lead role there. So it's an encouragement not to give up, and also to consider the importance of it. And then to conclude, I personally think that 2020 is the point of no return for open science. So I think that is the year where most of the scientific community and most of the policymakers have understood that open science is the way forward. So why? Because of Corona. Because if you look at, and that's my last slide, Oleg, so don't worry. So if you look at how the scientific community has reacted, public and private, to the challenge of the virus, is actually, they don't call it that way, but it is actually in setting up a gigantic global open science research and spin-off system, if you want. So most of the publications, if not all, were immediately made available by all publishers in open access, close to 200,000 now, Most of the data, public and private, were made available in ways that anyone else could use them and reuse them. De facto, you had a global collaborative approach whereby most of these thousands of researchers looking for vaccines for the virus started working together. And so in an extremely short time period, we got actually one of the largest scientific communities in the world, namely the life science community, working in a de facto open science standard. Why? Because it allows us to go much faster, much quicker, and much more efficient. And normally a vaccine takes 10 to 15 years. Well, we did it in 12, 13 years. Not only because of open science, of course, there are many more reasons, but it certainly was a big enabler. And that's why I think it's fair to say that 2020 demonstrated that open science can save lives, because it is a much faster, much more efficient way to get to progress. And that's why I think it will be an irreversible moment in the history of open science. So said that, I will send you the slides. I wish you good luck in Ukraine. Don't misunderstand me. It won't be easy to convince everyone. I did dozens of speeches and presentations at all levels in Europe, and you always get the same kind of critique. Are you sure this and that? And was it not better before? And so it won't be easy, but there is no way. There is no other way. This is the way forward for the scientific community. And good luck to the colleagues and friends in Ukraine who are trying to do this.
Thanks, Professor Burgelman, for such an inspirational speech. Thanks, and we will definitely move this path in Ukraine and make all the necessary steps. Thanks. Thanks again.
Pleasure.
For our project, maybe one of the most crucial institutions and organizations is, of course, Ukrainian Ministry of Education and Science. And it's my great pleasure to invite our Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine, Professor Andrii Vitrenko. Please.
Thank you, dear colleagues. Thank you for this meeting. I would like to welcome all colleagues from all over the world. I would like to say that the project is very important for our Ministry of Education, and the universities which participate in the project. I think that universities are leaders of Ukrainian education and Ukrainian science. I hope the project will help to reach the high quality of education in Ukraine. I think it will definitely help our researcher to get the new knowledge, the new worldwide knowledge, and the very quality knowledge from all over the world. So from the name of Ministry of Education and Science, I would like to promise you all our support, and all your steps will be supported by our ministry. I would like to say thank you to Mr. Yuriy Bobalo and to all my colleagues for the project. I wish you good luck, and I hope the project will reach their goals. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. We really hope that we will have effective cooperation with the ministry. Thanks again. For our project, cooperation with another important institution is crucial, which is, of course, European Commission and EACEA. And we are extremely glad and have an honor to invite our next speaker, Ms. Belén Enciso, our esteemed project officer. Please, Belén.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, dear university and ministerial authorities and dear project representatives. First of all, my big congratulations to all of you for such a success during the very competitive selection process. So I've had already the opportunity to talk to some of you, but now I would like to extend my congratulations to all the partners involved in this excellent initiative. And secondly, I would like to thank you for this invitation to participate. I'm extremely happy to be able to participate finally in a kickoff meeting. This means that, I mean, it shows that not all the lockdown restrictions have negative. I mean, there are also some positive effects. At least in this case, I'm able to participate in the meeting, and otherwise I would not have been allowed to travel. But I take the invitation of the rector of Lviv, and I hope that in the future, in the next few years, we will have the opportunity to carry out a monitoring visits in the premises of the university, because it's indeed much better to see each other physically and to see the people involved and the results of the projects in the real context. Well, as you all know, I'm project officer at the Executive Agency for Audiovisual Education and Culture. And this means that I'm the person responsible to follow up the capacity building projects that are implemented in Ukraine, but also in other countries in the Eastern Partnership region. The agency is mandated by the European Commission to select and to follow up the capacity, well, the Erasmus Plus projects in general. I work for the capacity building in higher education units, but the agency is responsible for the implementation of all the actions of the Erasmus Plus project program. The role of the agency is sometimes seen as the entity that selects the good applications and then makes the payments to the projects. But we are not just a bank. We are more than that, and we want to be more than that. In fact, we want to be also partners in your project. What we want to do is to be able to understand what you're doing and to help you and to support you on a daily basis, so that our rules and our financial requirements are fully followed by you, but that they are not a problem for your implementation. So I'm there to help you follow the rules of the financing that you have received, but in particular to help you that these rules are not a problem or a difficulty for your project, but that you're able to implement the activities in the best possible conditions and in the most flexible way. And for this, it's very important that we keep a daily communication, that you inform us whenever you find some difficulties, and we will always be there to support you, to help you find a way to implement in the best possible way. So the way we monitor your project, or the way you accompany you during these 3 years, is by desk and field monitoring activities. So desk monitoring activities is what I'm doing in Brussels from my desk. I follow your developments, your website. You send me regularly the state of advancement of the activities. If there are problems or challenges, you write me and I will try to help you to solve. If there are changes in the composition of the consortium, of you need different kind of equipment, this kind of activities are the desk monitoring activities. We do also have field monitoring activities, and these have been delegated to the team of the National Erasmus Plus office in Ukraine. And I think Svitlana will explain later her role. But these are very complementary. So desk monitoring carried out in Brussels and field monitoring carried out by Svitlana, and hopefully I get to live sometime in the next years also to do a field monitoring visit, are very complementary activities, and both help us monitor and follow your project on a daily basis, let's say on a routine basis. You will have 3 years of implementation. We will accompany you during these 3 years, and we will ensure that that you don't have difficulties from our administrative point of view, and that if you have problems, we can help you, administrative problems, not content related problems, unfortunately. We will try to help you solve. But in the very end, we are interested in your results. So in the very end, what we want to have is a clear overview of what are the achievements that you have obtained after the 3 years implementation. This is what motivates us also to accompany you until the end. We are looking forward to be able to present to the Commission the nice tangible results you have obtained, but also the intangible developments that you have achieved after 3 years of working together. So please keep this in mind, so that we always, when we communicate, we keep in mind that whatever we are going to change, whatever we are going to adapt, is also in order to ensure that the final outputs that you have promised at the application stage and the impact that you are expecting from your project is better achievable at the end. So I think that's all I wanted to say. I would just like to repeat my congratulations and to invite you to consult me and to involve me in all the activities you consider necessary. And I wish you a lot of success for the coming 3 years.
Thanks, Belén. Thanks a lot, and we really count on you. So hope we will have effective communication and collaboration. Thanks again. Dear friends, if you are Ukrainian and you want to apply for a European educational grant, you're extremely lucky because you have a National Erasmus office by your side. Let me once again thank Svitlana Shytikova for all, the head of the office, for all her constant support, and invite her to say some words. Svitlana, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, dear team and dear colleagues and partners. On behalf of the National Erasmus Plus Office Ukraine and Higher Education Reform Experts team, we are really very much happy to welcome you in the international Erasmus Plus community in Ukraine. And we are sending you virtually our hugs today and hope to have the opportunity to welcome you in Ukraine soonest too. We are honored to congratulate your international team partners from Austria, from Poland, from France, from Belgium and the Netherlands, and together with Ukrainian partners from Donetsk relocated to Vinnytsia, from Lviv, Lutsk, Sumy, newcomers and experienced universities, and of course the vital partners from National Quality Assurance Agency and National Antarctic Center. You have a very good combination, and as we heard today, there would be also continuation of the help from the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine as the key beneficiary of all projects, and we hope that at the end, so the outcomes would reach the wider impact at different levels. And at the same time, we are thrilled to congratulate the National University Lvivska Polytechnica as the grant holder and coordinator of a consortium of 10 partners with four international and 6 Ukrainian partners, and to wish them a strong health, patience, and in 3 years, hopefully you would be recognized by your partners as Dream Team Coordinator, as we usually hear the cases when the Ukrainian partners were thinking of really good coordinators and the experienced working with them. So hopefully now this is your turn to become really a Dream Team Coordinator for all partners. And in 3 years, this type of calls, 3 Ukrainian universities are coordinators and grant holders, and they all contributing to the international project management culture building in Ukraine. And perhaps in the future program, we will have more opportunities to become grant holders in wider types of actions. And of course, the main goal is to enhance the quality of higher education. And in your particular project, I would say that the title of the projects match very much the approaches of the program itself, like it is based also on research and working with open practices, transparency, integrity for modern academia. Your project team will be working also of Ukrainian part home task within the activity plan of EU-UA association agreement. and in particular in its objectives under a chapter of research and education. And at the same time, Ukrainian universities, based on the best practices of EU partners, will build the capacities to contribute to the European strategy on open science data, aiming at transforming science through the digital tools and networks, and to make research more open, global, collaborative, creative, and closer to the society. So you have very ambitious task, and we are enthusiastic that synergizing with other projects and programs on research and education, particularly academic integrity with American councils, and of course the Horizon 2020 projects. The project outcomes will become the best practice cases for further stronger impact at individual, institutional, community, sectoral, and higher education system as a whole. And the teaching and learning excellence improvement based on research, and specifically using this internationalization instrument like European Union funded program Erasmus+, will bring your universities at more competitive level, and the education for students at more higher level to be ready for their careers and for their lives better. In these 3 years of journey, our team of the National Erasmus Plus Office Ukraine will be facing the challenges with you and helping you. You can always count on our helping hands, our support in project-related issues like dissemination, promotion, registration, monitoring, synergies, and every other issues you might face during the implementation of the process. Please do not hesitate to contact us at any time. And we are also looking forward to welcoming every of you in our office during the missions to Kiev, and hopefully to be a part of your initiatives in Ukraine and in other partners in virtual mode, but also in offline mode as well. So moving forward together and becoming stronger together under the support of the European Union program Erasmus+, and we wish you stay safe and healthy, and good luck to all of us.
Thanks, Svitlana, and the same to you. We really look forward to cooperation with you. It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot. Reaching all the main stakeholders is very important for our project, and early career researchers, doctoral candidates are among the key target groups of our project. So I'm glad that today we have Ms. Olesia Vashchuk, head of Young Scientists Council at the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. Olesia, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to take part in this meeting. Indeed, Ukrainian young scientists will benefit much from the OPTIMA outcomes. And our council will do our best to help your team with the project implementation. Our organization is an advisory body under the Ministry of Education and Science Ukraine, established to promote the constitutional rights of young scientists, to participate in the formation and realization of state policy in research and innovation. At the moment, we are working hard on expanding our network within the country in order to reach and represent as many universities and research communities as possible. We are now communicating not only with institutional communities, but also with regional honors in many parts of Ukraine. As our council is a proud member of EURODOC, which is among the project partners, this will help strengthen our connection with the OPTIMA team. On top of that, Lviv Polytechnic National University and other Ukrainian partners are represented in our council in many roles. As we are aware, one of the project tasks is supporting 10 or more academic conferences for young scientists with open peer review tools and open science best practice. We will help with the open call to select this conference and make sure the project potential is reached to its fullest in this regard. Let me second the previous speakers, and with the OPTIMA project team, lots of luck with all the many tasks. I also that the COVID will be finally defeated with the help of open science, and we will have many opportunities to collaborate on establishing open practices, transparency, and integrity in Ukrainian academia. Thanks for attention.
Thank you, Olesia. We definitely need to unite our efforts on this. Thanks a lot. So the last but definitely not least, let me invite Professor Zhezhnych, Vice Rector of Lviv Polytechnic National University and OPTIMA project coordinator.
Dear rectors, esteemed colleagues and guests, it's an honor to be a speaker, but the bigger honor is to have all of you here today. In fact, the online format of this meeting allows us to launch the OPTIMA project all together. As our rector said, we do not have much experience as we are coordinating the capacity building project for the first time. However, we have already managed teams, built and deployed software, developed and released new curricula, and organized various international events. So we are already familiar with lots of tasks awaiting us within the project frames. In addition, we believe that the needed competences are already present among our partners, which are indeed diverse. Our community and effective communication with stakeholders are the keys to the project success. If we think of OPTIMA as a symphony, then a nice orchestra for the successful performance is needed. We hope that all our esteemed partners will feel like superstars playing their unique parts in the common harmony. We are pleased to have effective communications with Ms. Belén Enciso, our project officer at the European Commission, and Ms. Svitlana Shytikova, head of the National Erasmus office in Ukraine. So the project is on its very early stage. We are already grateful to these two ladies for their help and support. The OPTIMA team is in the beginning of a long, exciting journey, and we will do our best to make the most of it. I do believe that our project is extremely relevant to modern Ukrainian academia and will bring positive changes at the national and local levels, as well as at the institutional level of each project partner and involved organizations. Good luck to all of us, and thank you for participating in the OPTIMA kickoff meeting.
Thank you, Professor Zhezhnych, and I apologize that we have our introduction part for a little longer than expected, but now we want to create a group photo with all our present participants, rectors and guests.